Hi, I'm Tom Ziglar, CEO of the Zig Ziglar Corporation. I'm so glad you're here on the Ziglar Coaching Academy. And we are here to serve life, leadership, and sales coaches, people who are looking for a life, leadership, and sales coach, and for people who really just want to understand how to coach themselves better. We are on the life coaching piece of this. Last session, I covered the first 3 spokes in the coach's wheel. And today we're going to talk about the next 3. I'm giving an overview of this. So this life wheel for a coach, the coaching wheel we call it, is a great tool for you to use. We have a download available that you can get. You can fill this out. You can see where you stand. But the reality is that in order to be successful in anything, there are certain skills, attitudes, and efforts, actions that you've got to take in order to be successful in that. And we've got 6 spokes that we work on in the coach wheel, and each spoke has 10 different things. So that's 60 items that you can start to look at and say, where am I in my coaching journey? How am I doing at each of those? And so the first spoke that we want to talk about today is the enrollment conversation. This is one of these things, right? So you're building a successful coaching practice, you're a life coach, and somebody calls you up and they say, hey, I hear you're a life coach. Do you think you could work with me? Well, now you're going to have that one-on-one strategy session, that discovery session. We call it an enrollment conversation. And really what you're doing is you're showing up to serve, right? You want to find out where they are, what their dreams and goals are, what the possibilities in their life look like, what they're really hoping to accomplish, and then maybe a little bit of the things that are holding them back, the frustration they might have and what they've tried in the past. And so when we teach our coaches an enrollment conversation, we have 10 things that we focus on. Let me go through this. First off is we do what we call pre-call planning. Maybe your prospect, the person who's interested in you becoming a coach, maybe you know something about them. Maybe you could look them up on social media. Maybe they're referred by a friend. Maybe they filled out an intake form. Maybe you met them in an event briefly and they told you a little bit about them. Do a little bit of pre-call planning and say, hey, this is what I know about them. This is what I need to find out about them. This is where they are in life. And then you connect with them. So now you're on the call, you're connecting, it's on the human level. Tell me what's going on. And then you start to get a little bit more specific. Hey, let me give you an overview, an agenda of what we're going to go through. And here's the outcome that I would like for us to come to at the end. Does that sound good to you? And then you dig into this, right? Because they're meeting with you for a reason. They need hope. They need encouragement. They need a plan and a pathway to achieve what they want. And so your goal is to find out what is the best way to serve them. And so this is where we get into the reason for our call today. Why did you call? What made you, I saw you at the networking event, you heard me speak, or my friend referred you to me. And so why are we here today? What's on your mind? Let them speak and then focus on that. So is it a dream or a goal that they need help achieving? Or are they like in pain? Is there something that's really hurting and they don't like that? They want to change that. And then I like to ask 4 questions. Hey, what can you increase, improve, expand, or reduce, right? Those 4 words are powerful. That helps me to dig in and to understand them. And then I ask them a question. Would you like some help? And you let them know, I'd like to help. Wow, man, you've got a great vision. Or, wow, you've been through a lot. Gosh, I'd really love to help. Is it okay if we talk about that? Well, sure, it's okay. So then we confirm where they are and we get to know them in such a way. And then we call it the 4 yeses. And I'm not going to talk about that on this one, but man, it's powerful when you get them to say yes to 4 things. Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Yes. Okay. When we get them to say yes, now we're into that commitment. And this is where we just say, hey, would you like some help? And when they say yes, then you say, okay, here's how I can help. And that's what we call the offer. And then we close it, right? We say, hey, let's go ahead and get started. We overcome the objections. We do all those different things. That's what the enrollment conversation looks like. And then we've got to understand that as a coach, not only do we have to have the enrollment conversation, but we've got to now have a program to offer them. And in life coaching, there's a lot of different ways to do it. At Ziglar, we've created programs for our coaches to follow that really, uncover every stone. Don't leave any corners untouched, that allow you as a coach to explore where they are in their life, asking them questions and walking through certain steps. And so with our coaches, we say, hey, are you getting to know the program? Are you reading the books? See at the top and Choose to Win. Are you becoming very comfortable with that? Are you applying those principles in your own life? And then as a coach, before you go in, have you role played those different sections that you're going to coach someone on with somebody else in a safe environment? Because, hey, as a life coach, you've got a huge responsibility. Somebody has come in and they're trusting you to help them get from where they are to where they want to go. And so if you're rolling out a program or a process, you've got to be fluent in that. And then have you completed the worksheet, right? Have you taken all the steps before you actually get on the phone or on the Zoom call or face-to-face with somebody that you're going to take them through this? Have you actually planned it out and prepared in advance? And then if you set your client up to win, have you sent over your expectations? Hey, this is what I need you to do, and this is what I want you to be thinking about before we go there. And then have you done your own mental model about that specific coaching session? So what does that look like? Well, let's just say you're halfway through the program with them and you're looking at your notes and you say, oh, well, last time we covered this, this, and this, and you see highlighted, oh, they're stuck here, or they need to take action on this. That's what you want to follow up with on them. But how do you know that you're going to cover that unless you're prepared in advance and you do that mental model? And so when you do a mental model, it's so simple. It's like you say to yourself, hey, I'm going to ask this question. What are the likely answers they could come back with? What are the likely responses they could give me? And so you might say, well, they could say A, or they could say B, or they could say C. The power of this is how it prepares you in advance for that. Do you have pre-planned and written down the coaching questions you're going to ask to make it specific to them? Do you follow an outline or a manual or some process that keeps you on track so that you can always listen to understand what their heart is saying? And then did you set the expectations at the very beginning and then wrap that up at the end and get the commitments for the next session? It's amazing to me how some of the fundamentals just get forgotten. And when you look at a coaching relationship that's really growing at maximum speed versus ones that kind of stagnate a little bit, it's the fundamentals and the foundational aspects of it that keep it flowing and moving in the right direction at the fastest speed possible. And then, of course, I'm a huge advocate for AI, artificial intelligence, and using all the tools and resources that we have. And at Ziglar, we provide our coaches with a tool called ZigGPT that summarizes and allows us to prompt everything into there. So these are some of the tools that you can use. The third spoke in today's lesson, the sixth spoke overall of all the spokes, is awareness. And this is really a superpower for a life coach. The more time you spend in awareness, because think about this, I've heard it explained that, if you focus on something and you just focus on your finger, eventually your finger will start oscillating in your vision, right? And focus blocks out everything else. But awareness is powerful because it allows you to see context. It allows you to let your client breathe and to give them that safe space. I've been in coaching conversations where we've gotten to a challenging part of the conversation, and I'll go 2 or 3 minutes without saying anything, and so will they while they're meditating on it, thinking about it. So what are aspects of awareness? Number one, are you detached emotionally from the outcome? Like, are you okay with whatever? Is it a no judgment zone? Do you slow down for them when necessary and let them explore possibilities without any fear of being right or wrong, right? Because we're just here open. Do you reaffirm that? You ask questions nobody else is asking. Man, when you've got that question for the right moment, that's a game changer. And a lot of times people, they just get asked the same questions over and over again. And that's why great coaches ask questions that maybe they haven't heard positioned that way. You help your prospect or client dream, right? You create the future you see until the client, the prospect, until they can dream in this process and see what's possible, they can't go there. And you honor the silence. And you just pause. You maintain an unwavering belief in their possibilities. You demonstrate what it's like to have someone alongside, right? You say, hey, we're on this path together. And it's okay. It's okay if we need to go back and revisit something. And then as a coach, you got to be open, honest, and vulnerable with yourself. I mean, one of the greatest things that every coach should do is if you record your conversation, rewatch it, re-listen, go back there. And then finally, you provide value to the client based on what they need. And here's the big one, around their definition of value. You see, a lot of times as an expert, we'll walk into a situation and we'll say, this is what you need, this is how it should be, this is where we're going to go. But the reality is, what's important is what the client needs and what they tell you. All right, so great lesson. We're going to dig into this. We're going to start with the first spoke in our next lesson. But thank you for being a part of this lesson on life coaching. Share this with your friends and like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.